On the 27th of July, 2025, Russia unleashed its most daring assault in years, 50 tanks, 30 armored carriers, and 70 deadly suicide drones storming from a captured Ukrainian base. Their goal, a high one-tech blitzkrieg to smash Ukraine's defenses. But they never suspected the trap that waited beneath the soil. As the Russian spearhead roared westward, they unknowingly charged into a kill zone 3 square miles wide, an invisible minefield seeded with over 4,200 anti-U tank explosives. Weeks earlier, under the orders of General Mykola Shevchenko, Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade had turned this stretch of farmland into a silent weapon. The mines were camouflaged beneath freshly turned soil and rows of crops, laid in staggered patterns to slow, confuse, and destroy. Narrow corridors were deliberately left open, luring Russian drivers into what looked like safe passage. In reality, hidden pressure sensor mines waited there, primed to detonate beneath the heaviest armor. Above, Ukrainian UAVs circled like hawks, tracking every Russian movement in real time. Ground commanders held their fire, waiting for the perfect moment. When the lead tanks funneled into the safe lanes, the order came. Electronic triggers lit up the ground. Explosions ripped through the morning air. In just 4 minutes, 17 Russian T-90 tanks were reduced to mangled husks. Their turrets blasted 50 feet skyward. Flames and black smoke clawed into the sky as the rest of the column faltered. But even the most meticulous plan can teeter on the edge of disaster. At one point, a Ukrainian resupply truck due to a misread coordinate nearly entered the minefield from the rear. It braked just 6 feet from the edge, saved only by an urgent radio call from a drone operator above. Had it crossed the line, the resulting chain reaction could have destroyed much of the minefield and ruined the ambush. The danger passed, and the trap held. What had looked like open farmland was now a killing ground. Russia had walked straight into a nightmare of Ukrainian design, and the battle was only beginning. The battlefield was still trembling from the minefield detonations when Ukraine unleashed the second stage of its plan, this time not from below, but with steel and fire sweeping in from the horizon. At exactly 7:15 a.m., the 12th Armored Assault Battalion, hidden for days in camouflaged positions west of the blast zone, surged forward in a perfectly timed 3-pronged counterattack. At the spearhead were 32-ton 84 Oplot tanks, their engines thundering like predators freed from a cage. Flanking them, 10 self-propelled artillery units rolled into position, supported by mobile anti-aircraft platforms, primed to tear the skies apart. Every crewman knew the stakes. Months of grinding attrition and patient reconnaissance had been building toward this moment. On the Russian side, chaos reigned. Survivors from the minefield were frantically trying to realign their turrets and pull back into defensive formations. But the Ukrainians were already closing the gap, advancing at 45 miles per hour, with guns locked and ready. The first volleys landed with devastating accuracy. In just 90 seconds, 9 Russian tanks were reduced to burning wrecks, their armor torn open, their crews with no time to react. Then the skies came alive. The suicide drones that had survived the earlier assault now plunged toward the Ukrainian armor in a last-ditch effort to salvage the mission. But this time, Ukraine's forces were prepared. Mounted on the flanks of each armored column, Shvali 6 rotary cannons spun to life. These multi-barrel anti-aircraft guns spat 4,000 rounds per minute, creating a wall of lead. The sound was deafening, a brutal symphony of mechanical roars, cracking gunfire, and exploding drones. One after another, the UAVs disintegrated midair, some barely 30 feet above the tanks they had targeted. In less than 4 minutes, 47 of the remaining 53 drones were obliterated. The survivors, blinded and confused, veered off or crashed into empty fields, victims of Ukrainian electronic warfare units flooding the airwaves with false GPS data. The minefield had gutted Russia's spearhead. Now, the armored counterstrike was shattering its will, and Ukraine was just getting started. From a ridge 600 meters to the east, Ukrainian howitzers thundered to life, their shells landing with surgical precision. Supply trucks erupted in fire, and even Russian medics rushing to aid the wounded were caught in the blasts. Watching the destruction unfold, a Ukrainian tank commander summed it up in one chilling line: they walked straight into hell. By 7:31 a.m., less than 20 minutes after Russia's spearhead entered the kill zone, the momentum of the battle had completely flipped. From attackers, the Russians had become prey. High-resolution drone feeds pinpointed a heavily guarded command vehicle, clearly the nerve center of the operation. At 7:35 a.m., with the Russian advance crippled, Ukraine triggered the next phase, Operation Frosthook. From hidden trenches, abandoned farmhouses, and dense tree lines, 850 Ukrainian infantrymen emerged like ghosts. They were divided into 7 specialized fire teams, elite snipers, anti-armor experts, and electronic warfare units ready to jam enemy comms and sow chaos. The assault began with a thunderous barrage of RPG F-29 launchers. One rocket slammed into a Russian command truck, another into an ammunition carrier. The second hit ignited a massive explosion, sending a fireball 3 stories high and scattering burning shrapnel across a 100-yard radius. Through thermal scopes, Ukrainian snipers picked off Russian squad leaders as they tried to rally scattered troops. Every kill deepened the confusion, stripping the enemy of leadership in the field. Meanwhile, Ukraine's 3rd Airborne Scouts, who had infiltrated behind Russian lines 2 hours earlier via underground drainage tunnels, sprang the final trap. They cut off the only viable retreat route, sealing the Russians inside a tightening ring of fire. In just 6 minutes, over 110 Russian soldiers were killed or incapacitated. Some fled into nearby woods, others dropped their weapons and crawled for cover. But there was no escape. Every path was already in Ukrainian crosshairs. The minefield had broken Russia's advance. The armored counterattack had shattered its strength. And now, Operation Frosthook was crushing its will to fight one sniper shot, one rocket blast at a time. Amid the chaos, Ukrainian troops advancing through the wreckage stumbled upon a half-collapsed communications vehicle near the southern tree line. Inside, they found a man in full Russian field command gear, wounded but alert, surrounded by maps, satellite equipment, and a torn insignia. At first glance, he appeared to be just another injured conscript until a sharp-eyed sergeant noticed 2 details no frontline grunt would carry: pristine, unworn officer's boots and a military-grade GPS wrist device. A biometric scan confirmed their suspicion. This was Colonel Viktor Seionovich, commander of Russia's elite 42nd Armored Regiment, a key figure in Moscow's southern strategy. He had tried to slip away disguised as a low one-ranking soldier, but fate and a keen Ukrainian eye had caught him. Within minutes, Seionovich was restrained, his wounds patched, and he was airlifted under heavy guard. The capture was more than symbolic. On him were encrypted data drives, detailed orders for the next 72 hours of Russian operations, and precise layouts of fallback positions. Ukrainian intelligence later called it the most valuable capture since 2023, a blow that not only crippled the current offensive, but threatened to unravel Russia's broader campaign plans. And the morning's battle was still far from over. In just 85 minutes, Russia's most aggressive push in 6 months had collapsed into a disaster. The spearhead of the 42nd Armored Regiment lay in ruins, 42 armored vehicles destroyed, over 200 soldiers killed or captured, their commanding officer in Ukrainian custody. The cost was staggering. More than $350 million in equipment lost, critical intelligence compromised, and the regiment's operational strength shattered. Satellite images confirmed the carnage: burning wrecks, abandoned armor, and lifeless fields littered with debris. Moscow offered no official statement, no televised response. But Western intelligence reported a flurry of internal investigations, and rumors swirled that Colonel Seionovich's capture had exposed deep flaws in Russia's southern campaign. For Ukraine, it was more than a victory, it was a turning point. While Ukraine had every reason to celebrate, the aftermath revealed a different kind of victory, one measured not only in destroyed armor and captured intelligence, but in humanity. At Mykolaiv Military Hospital, medics treated both Ukrainian and Russian wounded. Among the most striking images to emerge was that of a Ukrainian corporal kneeling beside a captured Russian teenager, no older than 19. His face burned from an explosion, his hands trembling. The soldier held a bottle of water to the young prisoner's lips, offering comfort instead of vengeance. The photo went viral, sparking conversations far beyond the battlefield. For many, it became a symbol of Ukraine's resolve not just to win, but to uphold its values even in the harshest conditions of war. In Washington, retired U.S. General Marcus Holloway reflected on the battle in a televised interview. "This wasn't just a military victory," he said. "Ukraine won because of discipline, planning, and humanity." The image, paired with Holloway's words, reminded the world that strength is not solely in firepower, it's in the choice to show mercy when others expect retribution. Ukraine's victory on the 27th of July, 2025, was not simply the result of superior firepower, it was the product of patience, precision, and principle. From the first mine laid to the final shot fired, every move was calculated. Commanders controlled the timing with surgical discipline, allowing Russia to overextend before striking. Terrain became a weapon. The farmland was transformed into a lethal maze, while drone reconnaissance and real-time intelligence gave Ukrainian units the upper hand at every turn. By striking at the exact moment of maximum vulnerability, they inflicted massive damage with minimal losses. Equally remarkable was what Ukraine chose not to do. They avoided indiscriminate bombardments that could have destroyed villages or harmed civilians. Every shot, every strike, served a tactical purpose, no more, no less. In early interrogation, Colonel Victor Seionovich reportedly admitted, "I never saw it coming. Your people fought like ghosts, not with rage, with purpose. That purpose was clear: defend the homeland, not to conquer others." It was the same spirit seen in soldiers who fought in Normandy, Bastogne, and Fallujah, a resolve rooted in duty, not domination. Retired U.S. General Marcus Holloway later called it a case study in discipline, planning, and humanity. He stressed that Ukraine didn't win by matching Russia tank for tank or drone for drone, but by outthinking them using brains over brawn, restraint over recklessness. The battle's lessons stretch far beyond the Donetsk region. It proved that strength in modern warfare lies not only in advanced weapons systems, but in the wisdom to wield them responsibly. It showed that moral clarity can coexist with military success, and that showing mercy does not weaken a force, it strengthens its cause. Ukraine's conduct reminded the world that in an age where wars are often fought without regard for human cost, there remains another path. One where courage is measured not just in how fiercely you fight, but in how wisely you choose your battles, and how humanely you treat your enemy when the fight is done. On that morning, Ukraine didn't just win a battle. They defended a principle and perhaps, in doing so, won something far greater: discipline, courage, humanity. Ukraine's stand on the 27th of July proved that true strength lies not just in arms, but in the wisdom and heart behind them. If this story moved you, keep these voices alive. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support fuels the stories the world needs to hear.